Welcome in, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zerhide, and we have a big show of NBA basketball. The draft last Thursday night, and we previewed the show, myself and Rob Taylor, and we all thought that the Celtics might be going with Josh Jackson. And, in the last, I don't know if it was the last 24 hours or what it was, but they kind of changed their mind. Or Danny Ainge says he had his mind made up. I don't know if I buy it, but they went with Jason Tatum. What are your thoughts on the pick?
Yeah, so to me, I think Tatum and Jackson were pretty similar players, both pretty big guys, forwards. To me, I think they looked at those two players and thought they both had the same potential. So, I think Tatum was a good pick. He's a young guy. I like the pick. Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with it. Definitely.
Right. Yeah, the only question I had was that, Tatum is a scorer, and that's great, and they need scoring, but not as much of a defensive player as Josh Jackson was, but maybe defense is something you can coach up, and it's an effort level, and around this team that's already got a bunch of defensive stalwarts, you don't need to have that. You need the scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. This team is definitely a defensive team. A lot of people saying college basketball is really the last level where every second you see good defense. In the NBA, it kind of tones down a little bit. So this team, coached by Brad Stevens, who was just a college coach a few years ago, he coaches his young team like a college team, and they prioritize defense. So I definitely agree with you. They didn't need a defensive player. They needed a scorer, and that's exactly what they got with Tatum. So I think it was a smart choice, definitely.
Okay, so they have Tatum. He's obviously not going to start. He'll be coming off the bench, but he might be. We saw Jaylen Brown come into his own late in the year.
Yeah.
So who do they need to, obviously now that turns to free agency, which starts on Saturday, July 1st, and then I think July 7th they can start signing players. Who do they need to target? Who will they target? We've heard Gordon Hayward for the last 6 months, it seems. Blake Griffin's out of his contract. Chris Paul, I don't think they'll get him because he's a guard. They don't need a guard. But who are the free agents before we get into the trading?
Yeah, well, Chris Paul earlier today actually got traded to the Rockets.
Okay.
I don't know if,
so last minute,
Yeah,
okay.
So, to me, I think the Clippers, and I think they got a first-round draft pick for next season and a couple other players. If they're trying to rebuild, Blake Griffin is definitely going out the door.
Right.
So, but the thing with Blake Griffin, he's kind of been injury prone. But yeah, names like you said,
Hayward,
Paul George, Hayward.
Right.
A lot of people think they're going to try to go after both of them. I think they could. Gordon Hayward, Brad Stevens was his college coach. In college, so that's a fit. Paul George would fit nicely with them. You need a scorer, obviously. I think Paul George is the best available option. But I just don't know. He would be a rental player for just one season.
And he's not a free agent, so they'd have to trade guys. So, but immediately, guys you can control getting. Is Hayward worth signing? Because he'd probably want a max, so then you'd have a max there. You'd have to be thinking about Thomas. Or is it one of those situations where they're not going to beat the Cavs anyway, so should we wait until we can get somebody like an Anthony Davis or Kristaps Porzingis? So in terms of a free agent signing, is it worth splashing in big?
If Danny Ainge thinks there's a realistic opportunity to get, who did you just say?
George. Or
Porzingis
or Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis down the road.
If they think there's a realistic chance to get Anthony Davis, I think you're patient and you wait for that opportunity. But like with Paul George, if you get him for 1 year, there's no guarantee he's going to sign there for long term. They're looking for that long-term superstar. They can sign to a max deal. And I think Gordon Hayward, would be a player who would sign here a max deal here and stay here for a long time. But, it's tough to say. I think you can beat the Cavs, but can you beat the Warriors?
Right, that's the big thing.
I think you could build a team to beat the Cavs, but beating the Warriors is
the hard part.
I don't know. I think maybe being patient for a couple more years, trying to test more of the waters, might not be a bad option.
Okay, let's go back, before we go forward, let's go back to the draft night. And Phil Jackson, who's now out as Knicks president or GM, whatever his position was, didn't do a very good job. He was trying to trade Porzingis, and he supposedly won a couple first-round picks, and Crowder and Brown.
He wanted a lot.
Good thing that they didn't trade. He'd be a great asset, Porzingis, but you can't give up so much just to get him.
He would be a great asset, and they really need a big man who can score and get rebounds. But they wanted so much. If they made that deal, that would have ruined multiple years and had kind of set them back a while. And like we said, if you can't beat the Warriors, you don't have a real shot to win a championship. Why go all in right now? So I think it was definitely a good move. I mean, he would be great on this team, but it's definitely a smart move not to trade for him.
Yeah, it's an interesting position the Celtics are in. They're trying to build now to beat the Cavs, but also build for the future to beat the Warriors or stay afloat in the NBA in the coming years. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll get more into that Celtics talk, maybe how they can beat the Warriors and how that balancing act of this year and the future. When we come back, you're watching YCN Sports Talk.